All right, so I want to take the first stab at discussing something that I think needs to be, I wouldn't say taken down or destroyed. It feels like it's so heavy. But I just want to take a look at something that I think could use another perspective. The current perspective, or the way it is positioned or claimed, is too one-sided, and it's funny in a way that I should take this book called Superthinking as my first attempt, because here I was making a video in the spirit of saying whatever I will destroy, I do out of respect, because I'm destroying things that have served me in the past, and I'm really destroying myself as this thing has me, and I need to liberate it. And now I'm destroying, or attempting to destroy. I hope you don't mind the word, because I'm starting to mind it, I feel. But here I'm taking a stab at this book that I haven't even read. Okay, so let that be the first disclaimer before I get to my disclaimers, which is I have not read this book. I do not know the author other than what was mentioned on the Amazon page. I've read the description, I've read some reviews, and I'm biased from start to finish there because I already knew what I wanted to say just when I read the title and understood it was about models, right? A book of models. Now, I have nothing against models, but we will get to that. So let that be the first. I'm not taking a stab at this book in particular, although it might seem so, and in a way I am. I'm also just taking a stab at books that are about thinking or better logic or models or all this horse shit that I think represents where we are going astray in this world. So it does get me somewhat upset talking and thinking about this subject, but in a good way. I enjoy my upsetness, and I hope it will be entertaining for you, if nothing else, right? Let's just make this whole thing entertaining. Alright, so as usual, the usual disclaimers apply here as well. I don't know anything. Whatever I'm saying is bullshit. If I'm claiming a book to be bullshit, you most certainly know or can count on the fact that I'm claiming my own talking as complete and utter bullshit. There might be some cuss words more than usual in this video, as I like to emphasize what I think with words like shit and fuck. If you cannot deal with that, then I should have said that before I said the word, but it's too late now, so turn it off quickly before I contaminate you or whatever you think will happen when particular words are used. So I don't know anything. Whatever I say is bullshit. It's just a projection from my side. I don't know your situation. I didn't write the book. I didn't read the book. The guy must be a great guy who wrote it. Like, what? I don't know, man. It's just... It's not that I don't want to take responsibility. It's just that I want you to take responsibility, and I really don't have a role to play there. So don't start projecting stuff on me. I do that enough for myself. So, voila. Alright, so the book called Superthinking by a guy named Weinberg. And I think he has a co-author, which I don't know the name of. And this guy, I don't really know him, except that it turns out he is the creator or CEO or something to do with DuckDuckGo, which I'll return to shortly as well. But the first thing I want to take a look at when it comes to this book called Superthinking is the goddamn title. Because who in his fucking right mind labels his book Superthinking? I mean, where do you get the balls? Right? And Superthinking. Let's take it easy. All right. So you write a book. You are happy with it. And somewhere in your life, you discovered models. And you found they were extremely helpful for you. Or at least they appear to be, right? You think they give you an edge. You think it's helping you be a smarter person, or I don't know what it is you're thinking. But apparently it did something for you. And you, somewhere along the way, thought, I wasn't dumb, I was a pretty good thinker, but when I discovered these models, they turned me into a super thinker. And I don't know if if it relates to like superheroes, like there's this superhero in Watchmen that has, I'm sorry, I love that movie and comic, but I don't remember the names of the heroes. But he is like, I don't know, he was turned into God through some accident. Let's just call it like that. He can do anything, knows everything, right? Now, I would agree that he possesses like the super thinking skill. He sees everything, knows everything. Well, maybe not really, but in the comic it's claimed that he does. So, and let's be clear here, right? The reason the title triggers me is because if someone claims a book to be called Super Thinking, it piques my interest because I think a lot about thinking. And so to have someone say, I wrote a book and it's called Super Thinking, I'm like, wow, that must be very interesting. I really wonder what it is you're going to offer me, because I've done some thinking of my own, and I've certainly found for myself that there are ways of changing perspective that give rise to a new way of looking that I wouldn't necessarily call intelligence, but it certainly helps you see things way more clearly. So the idea is something that I can relate to. But if you then turn out to have written a book about models, and not the sexy kind, but just, well, although models, like in the mathematical sense, could be sexy too, but, right? It's models, thinking models. And now it's about super thinking. I don't understand how you relate that. Or is it that you just think we're children and we like superheroes? So I can have a superpower too, a pretend superpower, right? If I can understand some models, then I can super think. It isn't just thinking, right? It isn't just someone helping someone else try to get a new perspective on things or give him some sort of thing that can help and facilitate the way he looks at the world. No, we're talking fucking super thinking here. I mean, just the title, it blows my mind. And I guess maybe that's super thinking. But I don't understand what anyone thinks when they would call their book super thinking. Because they're either very arrogant or narcissistic, which we all are, as I explained before, in looking at the world saying the way I think is just, I'm like a superhero. Because I fucking own everyone. Like they're all villains and I just defeat them one after the other with my mental models. Or it's because you just don't take serious what thinking is and how it should work, and you're trying to market your fucking book as this will give you super mental powers. What does that look like? What is super thinking? Why can't it just be normal thinking that evolves into better thinking and more specific thinking and a broader way of looking at things and right? Why super thinking? What's wrong with you? I really would like to know why you call it super thinking. But I'm not going to waste the whole video just on the title. I think I've made my point. I think the title is ridiculous. It's a claim title that can never live up to its expectations. And it's either taking yourself way too serious, and maybe it was the publisher who thought it up, or it's taking your readers way not serious enough. Alright? Alright. Secondly, how did I come across this book? Well, I think I was searching for something on how databases work, because it's interesting to me. And I ended up on this unnameable site, which is called Quora or whatever. Maybe another video. Alright, I ended up on this site called Quora. Let's just call it Quora. And I pronounced everything wrong, and I realized I named Narcissus, like all these names, I can't be bothered, I'm sorry. Alright, Quora. And I was reading about something about databases, and here was this banner, which said something to the effect of Superthinking, a book written by the creator of DuckDuckGo. And I don't know if it, like my computer tracks everything I do, I'm pretty sure it does, so it might have known I started using DuckDuckGo a couple of months ago, and I'm actually using it often. It's a nice browser, and I like the illusion of privacy it gives me, right? So maybe the browser or the computer knows. I don't know if I was looking at DuckDuckGo or Chrome, but it served me up a book called Superthinking about mental models, and named and mentioned the fact that it was created by the creator or something of DuckDuckGo. So it made sense that I saw that banner as it fits the algorithm of me, right? But as I was looking into what the book was and why I wasn't going to read it, I thought, what does it have to do anything with the guy who wrote it being the creator of DuckDuckGo? I mean, what does that suppose? Why is there a relation? And of course there isn't. The guy who created DuckDuckGo could just be some guy who thought up, that's what I want to do, and he did it. It doesn't mean he's smart. It doesn't mean he knows how to think, let alone super think. There's no relation whatsoever. But then I realized it's the only authority to claim. And even if it's unrelated authority, hey, it's authority. If we can make the creator of DuckDuckGo some sort of guy with a halo, then whatever fucking book he writes must be fucking awesome, right? Because if it's just some guy who thought a lot about models, and we say, well, this guy really thought a long time about models and he wrote a book about it, then we're like, man, even though personally I would be very interested if someone really took their time to think about models, and not about particular models, but about the function of models and how to not or do deal with them and what they can and cannot do for you. That would be an interesting book. I guess Signal and the Noise by Nate Silver was somewhat like that. But this guy wrote a book, and now you're telling me in marketing it that he created DuckDuckGo? What's the point? How does that give him any fucking authority on modeling? Or thinking about models, or about the models he collected, right? I don't think it does. And I think the point is that there are already many books about models. It's something that has served men for a long time. So models aren't new at all. And collections of models in a book aren't new at all. So there's no pitch there. There's nothing there that could convince me that this book is different. The only way I could realize the difference between it and its predecessors is to read the book and to read other books. But of course I haven't, so you're trying to sell me the book. So you're throwing everything at me that could kind of convince me that I should read this book. Maybe the guy has a beautiful girlfriend or wife. Maybe you should mention that, right? It's written by the guy who created DuckDuckGo. Plus he's actually dating an actual model. Maybe that could help. Maybe that would convince me to say, well, geez, I really have to read this book, because maybe if I read it, a model will date me. I don't know. But I mean, do you understand there's no relation? So why do we do this? Especially a book that is about models and somehow, in some way, even though it might be completely misguided, is looking for some way to get a better handle on reality. get a better handle on what's going on here. And now you're confusing it by marketing the book saying he's the creator of DuckDuckGo. And these are the things that frustrate me into saying this is all that is wrong with the world. And there's more to come, don't worry about it. And there's nothing wrong with the world, right? The universe is always right. That's just what it is. And this book certainly has its function. At least for me, I mean, it has occupied my thinking for days now. And I am sharing that with whoever. So maybe it's something that is very good, is very useful. And so I should be thankful, and I am, for the guy and the book. But on the content of it, it gets me going. Because it feels like it's a dumbing down product being sold as a, dumbing up or a smarting up product, right? It's completely self-serving. It's giving people something. It's exactly the do-gooder bullshit that I mentioned before, where some guy thinks he's smart, writes a book, gets all excited, wants to get confirmed that in fact it is a useful thing, so now he's selling you his book because he needs to be confirmed that it's so freaking nice, and the editor wants it to be nice, and the publisher wants to be successful, so they're all so needy in this book that it needs to be a success. So they will say anything to get you to fucking buy it. Well, not anything, because they have morals. So we're not going to say things that aren't true. No. We're going to say things that we can tell ourselves are very useful. And if only people would allow themselves to be convinced, then they could read this book and the world would be a better place for them and for all of us. Because I'm so great. So please buy this book and let me know that in fact I am great. And this is not meant as a disrespect, okay? I don't know the guy, I don't know the editor, I don't know the publisher, I don't know anything. And maybe they're great guys. And they saw through all of this. And I'm kind of working on this meta unreview of the new Quentin Tarantino movie, which will make exactly this point, that only the creator, especially if he's a master, can see through what was created. But I'm not going to go into that right now. And I'm just going to say that the way it's marketed, it pisses me off. Because I feel like it's a manipulation. And yes, it's a tough marketplace because there's a gazillion books coming out every day. And yes, mental models, there have been written many books about it. So you don't really have anything there. And I understand you want to sell your book. But allow the public that you so underestimate to make their own choices. Allow the one who searches for the book of models to find your book and then read it. Don't try to fucking pitch it like it's something I need because the guy who created DuckDuckGo, which, he's into IT and he has VCs, he lives in Silicon Valley, so I must read his book because I, of course, want to be exactly like this person. And if only I could be recognized as the brilliant thinker that I am and I could have VC sucking my dick, then perhaps, the world would be a better place indeed. Alright. That's the way it was marketed, which pissed me off, and I thought, why? You do anything to set yourself apart because the competition is so tough. You need to now throw shit at me that has nothing to do with your book? Alright, let's move on to the content, which I do not know, of this book, other than that it's about models. Now, people are getting more intelligent every day, so I am sure that the book has a huge disclaimer, right? Half the book is just taken up by the fact that models are fucking models. And one should never confuse the map with the terrain, right? And models are flawed from start to finish. They are thinking tools. And the biggest problem with writing a book about models, which I am sure this person has made clear in his introduction, because he's a smart person who uses models for thinking, so he must have thought of this. is that models are more dangerous than anything else if you don't understand what a model is and how it should be used, right? The fact that I understood there's like 300 models in the book doesn't speak in his favor when it comes to this point, because why overwhelm someone with 300 motherfucking models? Like, if you could use like 5 models in your life well, I think you've made a big step, and you went to work and you fucking, right? You took your time, right? No, 300. You're gonna give me 3, like, because it's like the Spartan movie or something? I don't know. Or it's like all you could find, you're a collector of models, and you don't go into the models, you just collect them. I wanna have all the models. Oh, I understand this, okay, next. Oh, I understand this, oh, look at this model. Oh, I'm so smart, I understand it already. Next. But these people, these regular people who did not create a browser, they don't understand models at all. So I will explain to them the use of models. And then I will look at this model and say, look at this model, this is why it's so useful, right? You don't have to think about it, just accept what I say and use the model at appropriate times that I've already addressed in the book. What is the appropriate time to use this model? Don't make it your own, don't, right? So models are fucking dangerous. They're like weapons of mass delusion. And this world has shown us over and over again that models are in fact very dangerous. Right? Black Swan is a nice book. Or Fooled by Randomness, I don't know exactly which one anymore. To let you know that people first come up with a model that is useful because, like, hey, I can make some shortcuts in my thinking, and it turns out they're pretty useful. And before you know it, they live in the fucking model and forget that there's actually reality. And that the model means nothing. So models in itself are dangerous if used incorrectly. And moreover, models are not useful at all unless they are your own. Just like I try to say with everything I create, this thing is useless and destroy me and recreate it for yourself if you feel there's anything there for you. But don't fucking think a model is any different. Right? Even fucking Paretos Principle or whatever models they use, which are so smart and everybody talks about them, and right, they're useless unless they are your own. There will come a time when I will make a video or two about 2 or 3 models that I've created for myself. Right? Things I thought up. After years and years and years of looking at things in a very clumsy and ignorant way, where I finally realized, wait a second, there's actually a pattern here that is useful for me. I don't have to do the rethinking of my nonsense every time, because I can kind of skip forward and look at this model in a way that it explains something. Now I've also realized it costs a lot. There's a prize and a prize, right? You get something and you give something. So the model, it brings you something, but it also costs you a lot. And unless you keep looking at those costs and realizing that you're paying those, a model can be very one-sided. And what I've realized is that if I were to explain my models that I use for myself to you, that they have no function for you. Like, it's my model and you can't have it. Now that doesn't mean you can't copy it, because please do, but you can't have my model because there's nothing there for you. Alright? A model that I use is infused by me with meaning and logic and assumptions and projection and all these things that to explain it like this is a model and this is how it's useful is completely ridiculous. Alright? And this movie is going to take up a little longer than my usual ones, I realize, because there's so much for me to address, I feel. And I see I still have like 5 minutes before I hit the mark. But models deserve a movie all by itself just because of how dangerous these things are. And how misguided they are in pretending to be external logic. Like there's anything there that has any meaning. And if you do not know the bad side of a model, you cannot use it for any good. Because it's costing you so much. And if you're not aware of the cost that it's asking of you, then you're going to get surprised by reality. So models in itself if I were to write a book of models, which I will never do, unless maybe my own, but if I were to write I would take up at least half the book and make sure it's half the book to fucking instill in you a fear of models, to instill of you that how much of a despisable tactic models are, and how I am completely confused in pretending that they're not. So whatever I'm going to say in the rest of the book should be taken with, like, not grains of salt, there should be fucking salt poured all over them. Because it's just ridiculous. Okay, and maybe I'm over-exaggerating a little here, but it's because it needs the emphasis, because it's so sorely lacking in the world. Now, I haven't read the book, so maybe he is making these points. And if he is, that's great. But please realize, models are completely useless for you. And 300 models, I mean, unless you're going to take the rest of your life to read it, and don't intend to finish it in that time, I don't know, right? And I will try to explain some useful ways to use this book at the end. But it's mostly entertainment and just like maybe useful for kids to kind of glance over and see what triggers them. Anyway, that's on the model side before I even go into the fact that the way the book is sold is these are models that can be useful for your personal life or in business, help you make better decisions, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. And when I read that, the first thing I think is, what does this person think is going on here? Because you're not saying anything that's relevant. Make better decisions? Like, what the fuck is that? What does it mean if I integrate some fucking rule of thumb that someone else thought up? And then I like, when there's a situation, I was like, wait, let me get my list of models and see which one applies here, right? So I can make a better decision. Because I'm not going to make the decision. No, I'm going to externalize it to some fucking guy who collected some models of other fucking guys that somehow, after years of thinking and looking and experiencing things, said, this is a good rule of thumb most of the time. And now I'm just going to say, fuck all my own experience and let's not pay attention or learn anything for myself. I'm just going to take the list of models and say, well, let's apply the sunken cost fallacy here. Because I'm told it's very useful. Or let's apply Paretos Principle here, even though I don't really understand it. Is that what we should do to make better decisions? Or do you expect that I integrate all these 300 models, and whenever I'm at a cocktail party and someone says this or that or the other thing, I say, well, actually, Pareto once realized this, that, or the other thing, and as such, your claim is false, or it's not logic, or it's not a good decision. Or better yet, I'm in business, right? Business, like it's a thing. Like it's not people, like it's something else. And I'm going to say, wait, logic demands that we do this, that, or the other thing. Or we cannot do this because it would be so silly. And I'm using the model. I'm not thinking for myself. I'm not integrating this whole thing into me and saying, well, in this particular case, because we live in a particular time and space at this point of time, with a specific situation, with specific people and specific questions, I think in this situation, having thought all of this through as much as I can and taking my whole life experience and focusing it on what is in front of us right now, in this situation, I think this is a good decision. No, that's not allowed. What does the model say? And what is deciding, right? What do you think decisions are? You think these are external to you? Like, I was going to launch a web browser, but then I took my models and I realized I should name it DuckDuckGo because it would just make the most sense. Or I should hire this person or not hire that person, or I should invest here, not in... What do you think life is? What do you think is going on here? What do you think business is? What do you think is going on there? Do you think money and profits and outcomes have anything to do with what is going on here? Because if you do, I would say you are sorely mistaken. And your delusion is hurtful for other people because they might think this is about business and decisions and the right thing and the wrong thing and the outcome and the success. And I applied the model and we had a better outcome because I looked in the parallel universe and that was a worse outcome, right? The universe could be wrong, so I need to use the model to make it right. And I mean, I fully understand that I'm going off into an area where it becomes very clear that I am completely insane and have really nothing to offer to you because I am completely disconnected from this world you guys have created. So, yes, you could turn off the video now, have a laugh with your friends, and move back to chasing whatever the fuck it is you're chasing. Okay, I would not mind at all. But I do not believe your conceptual world. I do not believe business. I do not believe money. I do not believe success and all the other things. I believe one thing, and that's that I exist as something. And I don't even know who everybody else is or what they're doing, or I'm still trying to figure out the functioning of this whole thing. But I do know that whatever happens is just content. It's just something of drama and excitement that involves me as the actor and reactor, in which case I don't even know how much of acting or reacting I can do, but there seems to be some influence there. And now you're talking like we can make better decisions? To me, that's just ludicrous. And so if you don't agree with that, then that's fine. Read the book. It could be very useful. It could make you a big success, or at least at parties you could come across as a smart person. Because that's another thing, right? If you think these models will help you, if you think you now know something you didn't know before, you might actually start thinking you're smart. Because I can super think. So I'm smart now. You know what that will do? It will make you stop thinking you know. And it will make you stupid. Because you now think you have the answer. But the answers aren't the answer. It's the questions that will lead to the answer. And not the questions where you already put the answer in the question. I'm talking the honest questions, the wondering, the realization of not knowing that leads to seeing something that could help you. So this whole premises of having models that could guide you in business, it's just... I should make a movie, and I probably will, about this all by itself, because I cannot go along with it. I'm sorry. It's just, models are completely useless in my perception. Alright? They have no function whatsoever. Because it isn't about making right decisions or better decisions or super thinking or all these bullshit terms that expect you to take the outside world and accept its authority as being something where you are in functioning within and hoping to be validated. I reject that. Alright? Now I do admit that we are engaging in something and there's something going on and it's making it far more interesting than if there were just this internal world. But I do not allow myself to believe for a minute that I'm visiting here and I need to have some sort of legacy of good decisions, or that I could do something or anything at all that will influence this thing that's going on here, or that will make me have a good or bad experience at all. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that at all. I can't. It's not my experience at all. I've had success, I've had failure, I've had joy, I've had pain, I've had it all. And none of it lasts. And none of it has any meaning beyond the moment it was experienced or as an input for a new experience. But please don't think there's anything to gain from good decisions, because it's a claiming of some sort of proactiveness, some sort of control that to me is just delusional. I'm sorry, it is. So, and another thing in this whole thing is, okay, you're in business, right? who are you going to be smart against, right? Because this model is supposedly giving you an edge. Against what? Against your teammates? You can be smarter than your coworkers? Or is it against different departments? Like you can now shine as a department? Or is it versus other companies? You can now win because your company is the greatest? Or is it for the world? You can now help the world because you see things that we don't? I mean, what's the point here? What is success? And how large do you see it? Do you want to drive a nice car and have a real life model and have a good apartment and eat nice food? Is that your idea of success? Do you want your country to be successful? Do you want the world to be, right? What is this? Who is this going to help? At what level are you influencing the anthill? Right? Because super thinking is separating from regular thinking. I don't know what he would call that. So what is it doing? I don't know, maybe I'm completely confused here. I thought about it a lot, and when I thought about it, I thought what I was thinking made sense, but what do I know, right? It's all bullshit anyway. Alright, let me see. I think I've covered most of what I wanted to say. Why this whole thing triggers me. Right? Now, the ironic thing is I use models myself, right? Like I said, I have some models of my own. And there are times when I recognize that Paretos Principle is actually very useful. In the sense that it's a conclusion I reach, right? I think a model is an outcome of something. It's like you go through the motions and all of a sudden you realize this is the pattern. But you don't start with a pattern, it's an outcome. It's like the model comes after you understand. So if you don't understand, the model has no function. And I also realize that once you have it, it's something you can recognize as something that happened, right? I was doing this thing and I spent a lot of time with it. And all of a sudden I realized, wait a second, I'm wasting my time because like Pareto Principle, I've gained most of the advantage with the first input, and now the rest of the input is just going to lead to, what is it called, diminishing returns or whatever. But that's not good or bad, okay? You are all wasting your time here. I'm wasting my time here. So there is no useful use of time, and to put that in people's mind is going to make sure they hate the way they spend their time, because now they're spending their time wrong and they feel guilty watching Netflix, like they should be writing a business plan or something, or creating a new browser. Like we need 5,000 browsers, or 5,000 apps, or 5 billion apps, or, right? Like it's going to change anything except distract us. It's not. So, the realization of what is going on is fine. Hey, I'm putting a lot of time in the last 20% of this thing. And now I can deliberately say, that's fine, I enjoy this. And I continue. That's fine. And I might say, hey, wait a minute. I realize now that whatever more time I spent isn't going to get as much return as I would like it to have. So I like to be more superficial than deep in this case. And I will switch my attention. That can be very useful. And maybe there are 300 models that you can call up at whatever point in time. And then you could say, well, thanks for that realization. I'm going to adjust my course here a little bit. Maybe. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But what do I know? So what is the point of this book? Where could it be useful? Where do I think there is value? Well, I think it's value to skim through and see what jumps out at you. I think in essence this book is a children's book. It's a book for children. It should be used as children grow up to show that before them there were people that thought of models that were useful for them. And perhaps there could be some use for them as well. Of course, then it should also be explained that everything is changing all the time, and we are, getting better insights all the time. We are advancing our insights. So the chances that this will remain standing forever is none. And they should ask the children to help destroy whatever model is there, so we can come perhaps to a better understanding of things. But that's about it. And that's the way I think the title and the marketing and the whole projection that I see into it of what this book could do is aimed at children. And in a way it's correct, because there's a lot of children on this planet, so to say, when it comes to thinking, right? But it's not going to help you become an adult at thinking. If anything, it's going to lock you into this childish way of thinking where you think there's smart people outside of you that can think things up for you, that then you can just swallow and have be part of you, and then call up whenever you feel. I don't know how that works, but that will be called up whenever, and then has some function for you. So I don't see it. I don't see it at all. And yeah, if there's any function, it's just to skim through and see if anything jumps out at you, and then take one or two of them and look at it, and look why it jumped out at you, and look what's there, and try to figure out how someone came to see that model, right? That would be interesting, perhaps, to start thinking about how can someone come to seeing this model, and then perhaps start thinking about the things this person thought about to start seeing that model indeed. And you have some pointers now. You have the advantage of someone showing you somewhat of the outcome. So when you're doing the math, you kind of know where you're going to have to end up. Perhaps. Or perhaps you're going to do the math and prove this guy wrong. I don't know. But that's about the only function I see for this. So if you have an opinion about this book, if you have an opinion about the way I mistreat it, let me know. I'm open to being wrong. Don't get me wrong. Right? I don't mind if someone creates a video saying how the video where I said this super thinking book is bullshit, that review or critic is completely bullshitting himself. Please do, because you will be correct, and I will applaud you. Because I don't care for it. Do you understand? I am here to express it. For myself mostly. And if it's helpful, that's fine, because that will build me up even more. But of course, after the build-up, there will have to be release. So there's a new problem there. But we will get into that another time. I thank you for your attention, and I wish you good luck with this.